Got a lot of political news we're going to get to
Mitt
first.
Romney and Rick Santorum.
Bob Kerrey talking about he's actually going to jump in the Senate race and going to run. A lot of people very excited about that. But speaking of Bob Kerrey, his name is attached to another news story about the Saudis, and wow, it's a big one.
Well, let's start there. After years of speculation, just filed affidavits of two ex-senators say the Saudi Arabian government played a role in the attacks on 9/11. Former Florida Democrat Bob Graham testifies, quote, saying this: "I am convinced that there was a direct line between at least some of the terrorists who carried out the September 11th attacks and the government of Saudi Arabia." While former Nebraska Democrat and the member of the 9/11 Commission, Bob Kerrey, says, quote, this: "Evidence relating to the plausible involvement of possible Saudi government agents in the September 11th attacks has never been fully pursued." The statements are part of a decade-long lawsuit filed by families of 9/11 victims against the Saudi government and other Saudi institutions. Washington is publicly standing by the Saudis as the Justice Department works to have the lawsuit thrown out on grounds of international immunity. In November, an appellate court reversed a previous decision that foreign nations are not immune to lawsuits under certain terrorism claims.
Steve Ratner, the suspicion's always been there. And this is, I found it fascinating. You look at Bob Graham's statement. Bob Graham, a very respected, moderate Democrat, served his state and country admirably for years. Pretty stunning statement by Bob Graham, but there have been these suspicions for a very long time.
Sure there have, and I think it may fall a little bit into the category of things you just don't kind of want to know.
You don't want to know.
The Saudis
exactly.
supply over 10% of the world's oil. I think it's 12 or 14% at the moment. They're a critical ally in the Middle East in many ways. And there's some things you just don't want to know, and I think this process may reflect a bit of that here.
And you look at those statements, Donnie. You have helped people put out statements for a very long time. Bob Graham came out. He went there. But you look at what Bob Kerrey said. He politely said what Steve just suggested. They don't want to know the truth. These charges have never been fully pursued.
And by the way, were any of us surprised?
No.
Did you hear? I mean, that's the kind of thing you almost, the sad part, you go, yeah, and?
No.
And I think that's the reality there. And I don't know where you go with this. And that's to Steve's point. I don't know where you go.
I don't think we go anywhere, Willie, because unfortunately, for the families, you have a federal government, you have a U.S. government that, if this is the truth, it's the last thing they want to know.
Absolutely. And the Saudis say this whole thing ought to be dismissed because they've been exonerated in the 9/11 report and everything else, but they have not been exonerated. But this gets back to the core question. Steve touched on it, and it's our relationship with the Saudis. We rely on them for something that we need, but we don't share anything else in common with them in terms of values or the things they do, the way they run their government, the way their country is run. But they are our gas station in many respects, and so we keep that relationship with them.
They're our gas station. We need them against Iran.
Right.
You look at this news, and by the way, they're very hostile to Iran right now. You look at this news on the top. The tensions rising are going to lead possibly to $5 gas prices. Barack Obama has some very difficult choices to make. The tougher he is on Iran, the tougher he is on American consumers. This is just, I mean, the front page of the paper is just all the evidence you need that we need to move beyond our dependence on foreign oil. It has held us hostage for the past 30 or 40 years.
Remember that not only are the Saudis the world's largest oil producer, and we were going to talk more about this on Monday, but they actually have virtually all the world's reserve capacity. So if Iran were to go offline or any other disruption, it is the Saudis that we have to turn to and say, please, please pump some more gas, some more oil.
Yeah.
Steve, I'm curious, with obviously oil prices going up, for some reason it doesn't seem to be hitting the same nerve as it usually hits when oil prices start to go. It does not seem to be setting the same shiver through the economy.
Well,
I think we're watching.
That's because you haven't had to put the 300 gallons in your yacht yet. when you start yachting out to the Hamptons,
by the way, you can't yacht to the Hamptons. The Long Island Expressway, there are no yacht lanes. So if you go to the Hamptons, you can either drive or helicopters.
Okay, well, so when you put
but I was asking a serious question of our chief economic counsel here that for some reason it does not seem to this point. I mean,
have
$3.50
affected the
gas.
real economy. I mean,
Nothing having to do with yachts or.
First of all, the average gasoline price at the moment is still $3.72, I think, to be precise. So people see these big stickers in big cities and they worry. They see those stories and they worry. And secondly, we do use less gasoline per capita per unit of GDP than we used to. So the impact won't be as great. But I would defer to this side of the panel and say I think the political impact could be just as great or greater.
There's really a political question more than anything, and Americans aren't focused on it yet because they're not traveling yet. The kids get out of school, they get in the car, they decide. You know, the people who are being hurt right now are people that commute a very long way, truck drivers. But no, this is when the summer comes and gas is over $4 a gallon and it moves towards $5 a gallon. This is bad news.
What are we going to do this summer? We haven't planned anything yet.
Well, you've never invited me out to your mansion on where
Alex, thank God, is saying no more, Donnie. I won't get to respond to that.
Well, I don't know what we're going to do this summer, but chances are good Willie and I are going to be working in a lot of soup kitchens, doing what we usually do.
No.
All the way from
Connecting.
East Hampton to South.
Well, and of course, I've got my charity up on the island.
Well, yeah.
I have not been invited to the vineyard. A lot of my brethren. Where you go there every summer?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You wearing the white? Where are you wearing the white bucks?
He wouldn't be caught dead on the vineyard. He goes to Nantucket.
Isn't it the same thing?
Real people
Wait, isn't it the same thing?
I go to Pensacola. Let's talk about. I don't like Donnie at all.
Yeah.
I never like.
I go to Pensacola, Florida. It's my home. All right, so let's go and